Hey Tube, as some of you know, I'm searching around for a Mustang or V8 stick shift car to be my Doho 3 on my Donating Horsepower YouTube channel. And I was just looking around. I like to browse cars.com. And what's interesting is that there is a decent amount of overlap between the New Edge Mustangs, the first 6 years of the S197, sorry, from 2005 to 2010. They still have the 4.6 liter. It just got 3 valves per cylinder instead of the old 2 valves. And there's overlap between those 2 years of cars as well as the Coyote cars a little bit. So all I'm doing is I'm going on cars.com, putting in $15,000 maximum price for a Mustang, and instead of just clicking on GT, what I like to do is go to search by manual, because obviously I don't want an automatic car, and then go to 8 cylinders. So it shows you not just GTs but Cobras, GT500s, Bullets. Obviously those are pretty much off the table for me at this point in my life and financial abilities, and also I like to search by lowest to highest. So we'll start with new Edge Mustangs, and pretty standard stuff. High mileage, a little over $5,000. And also, if you go to Craigslist.com, I've been perusing that website, up and down, through and through, all different areas, and you can find them a little cheaper. And of course, you buy from a private seller, you don't have to deal with the dealerships or wholesale centers, taxes, titles, license, processing fees, all that nonsense and fun stuff. But there are a few new edges actually significantly under 100,000 miles. Like this one was only 63K, and that's actually a pretty decent buy. 81K, although this one's a convertible. I'm not too big on the convertibles, but if it's so cheap and my budget isn't allowed for a coupe, then I'll take a stab at a convertible, check it out. And that convertible's got the roll bar there. So these prices for the GT, they're pretty standard. We're creeping up into the 7s, and then it'll go down to the 8, up into the 8s. For 260 horsepower at the crank. Obviously nowadays they aren't making that much of the crank. Over time engines lose horsepower slightly, need to be rebuilt to make factory numbers or such and such. And then we get to about the top end, and I only search for cars within 500 miles of me just to kind of have some landmark going on, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to be traveling 2,000-3,000 miles across the states just to get the super best deal on a certain car. But I mean, obviously I would travel for maybe down south for a rust-free car or way less rust and good paint condition. Maybe that might factor in. So you see our top end here on the New Edge Mustangs is we got your Mach 1, you got your Bullet, and then above that you got your SVD Cobras, the 03, 04 that are supercharged, and those are beyond 15. They're upwards of 18, 19, 20 grand, if not more. And we got one with a body kit. So we got a good range here for new edges. We got about 5,500 to 15 grand for if you just want a super, super nice one. Like just a regular GT here, we got 29.7 and 13 grand. We'll click on it. It might have, some of them are sold with Pro chargers. And actually this one is not, just pretty basic, pretty clean. Oh, Celine, there we go. Yeah, that makes sense. So not Pro Charge, but it is a Celine model, so it'll fetch a little bit more than a regular GT. And now we'll hop over to the S197, where do they go? Oh yeah, here we are. Just got to search by lowest price to, once again, lowest to highest. So 05 to 10 GTs. We got 8 grand. Now the mileage on these are going to be a little bit lower, but not actually by much compared to the new edges. So you got your 2005, the very first year of the GTs for the S197s, and it creeps up, but there is some overlap. You kind of gotta wonder, do I want a 3-valve with 300 horsepower compared to the 2-valve 9904 with 260 horsepower? Now, obviously these weigh a couple hundred pounds more, so if you're kind of wanting more like do you just want the more horsepower, or do you want the less horsepower but the lighter weight? Start with the lighter weight and then build upon the 2-valve and see what you can do there. And it's just really interesting to see that, especially a 2010 under 10 grand with the updated S197 body style. Yes, the mileage is higher, and it still comes with a 3-valve motor, but it's the newer body style, which is pretty cool. Like, I just didn't think I would see that in this price range compared to a nicer new edge. You got the 5-speed right there, so it's just very interesting to see overlap. And I probably will still end up going with a new edge whenever I buy my next car for my channel here. But I don't know, these 3-valves. I've heard some 3-valves that, man, they sound so good, but you can make a 2-valve sound really good as well. They got basically the same 4.6, just the 3-valve versus 2-valve, and maybe some slight differences here and there. But then you get somewhere convertible. Now this one right here, I always have this thing for an orange Mustang because they always seem to be rare. I don't really see them that often at all. So just over 100,000 miles and 07. So man, that would be just a scotch under 10 grand. That would be one to spring for if I was gonna kind of buy it as an investment opportunity, but I'd have to hold on to it for a really long time for people to be like, an orange GT from the early S197 years. Wow, that's kind of cool, but obviously there's way cooler Mustangs out there. And it goes up a little bit, so there's like a slight bump up from the 2-valves. See, now we're just jumping into the 10 grand range. In your area, you might be on the other side of the states over on the West Coast, and they might have slightly different prices, but this is just really cool. A lot of coupes. Everybody wants a coupe. Only, I would say few people here and there want the convertible, but to find 3-valve coupes for not much more than a 2-valve is just really awesome to see. Especially if you're like, I want a Mustang, but I can only really afford the 2-valve, or maybe only can even afford the SN95 2-valve. And you're like, well, looking at this, if you save up just a little bit longer and keep grinding at work or whatever, you can get a 3-valve for a decent price, and then have that as your baseline and start your mods or have it as your daily driver, what have you. Now, my favorite, the Coyote cars before 2015, before they switched over to the new body style and the independent rear suspension. We only have 9 matches under 15 grand, but we still have some matches. We still have some results. So 13 grand, just a scotch over 100,000 miles, and it's the premium GT. So that is like, wow, I could have just a super clean 2-valve, or I could have a pretty used GT, but they're still new enough where you got your good 412 horsepower, I believe. They didn't get 420 horsepower until 2013, but that's 160 more horsepower-ish than the 2-valves, and 112 more than the 3-valves for not that. Oh, and this one's got the Boss 302 intake manifold as well as an aftermarket intake. Man, cloth seats. It did say it was premium. I'm pretty sure the premiums only come with leather seats, but man, that's pretty clean as well. And you get your 6-speed instead of the 5-speed on the 2-valves and 3-valves. So Is this just like a common thing that everybody knows, or am I just kind of stumbling on new ground in the used Mustang market? Let me know. It might not be as exciting for you guys, but to me, this is like when I was looking up Coyote Mustangs with the 11 to 14 solid rear axle cars, maybe 2-3 years ago, I could not find a single one under 15 grand. And granted, it makes sense as they were slightly newer back then. Only in 2016, 2015, they were a couple years old. Most of them still within their warranties. Excuse me. And now that the S550s have been rolling out, the 2015 to 17s, and then the slight update to those 2018 and 19s, these solid rear axle ones, man, they're actually they are not bad on the prices here. These even one under 100K. Now, I always prefer the rear end of the 2013 and 14 because of those just beautiful taillights. Those might be my favorite taillights ever. But I'm still not quite sure about the front ends, if I love the 2013 front end more or the 2011, 2012 front end more. But those taillights, you just can't beat them for me. I would want those over any other Mustang taillights. The new ones, the 2015 to 17 taillights look pretty good, but those are going to be a classic right there. They're just something about it. And there's also a little Coyote sticker or overlay you can put over the third brake light, so when you hit the brake, it lights up and looks like it spells the word Coyote, which I think is pretty cool. And if I got a 2011 to 14 GT, that I'd be on that instantly right after my exhaust. And this is a solid price, 13 grand, 114K miles, but it's not too bad. I own a 2011 Civic Si, and I paid around 13 grand for it, and it had 74,000 miles. So, a little better on the mileage and slightly, maybe a couple $100 less on the price. Obviously, only a 4-cylinder, 200 horsepower compared to double the horsepower for about the same price here, just a little bit higher mileage. And I don't know, man. Some of these seem pretty solid. Plus the Coyote motors, to my knowledge, are pretty solid. I know the 11 and 12s were, I guess 11 to 14 are not as strong, if you will, as the 15 and up, because I believe 15 and up are forged from the factory, if my research is correct. But some of you diehard Mustang guys will let me know in the comments. So, but you're still getting a 4-valve, rev happy V8 with a 6-speed manual, because I searched it by that, and for under 15 grand. That's pretty good. And you can get like a 2010 to 14, or 2010 to 2015 5th gen Camaro before the 6th gen rolled out in 2016, and those I think might be around a similar price as these Coyote cars, maybe a couple grand more. But I don't know. Right now, I'm on this Mustang itch, and I'm looking around for them. And let me know if you guys have similar search results. This is only Cars.com. Auto Tempest, I think, searches them all across the board. But I always like to, take a gander at Cars.com and obviously Craigslist, because once I end up getting the Doho 3 for the channel, I'll probably end up looking up Craigslist for a private sale and a little cash deal, because I like to do it that way. It's a little cheaper in the long run, or in the deal overall. What am I saying? So that's my little search. That's my little interesting topic for the day. If any of you are getting a Mustang, juggle between 2-valve and 3-valve, I would say, and then also juggle the 3-valve and Coyote, because maybe the Coyote car is actually not that far out of reach from the 3-valve price. So that's all I got to say. I'll see you guys later.